It's fair to say that the boat which did not reach its full potential in the recent Vendée Globe was Jeremy Bayou's CHARAL. It had a rocky start, breaking gear, returning to restart 9 days after the fleet. Then having a very fast circumnavigation. Well, it's just been announced that Jeremy is to build a new boat, CHARAL2, for the 2024 race. Yes, same sponsor and designer, Sam Manuard. We presume that it will be an improvement on the current yacht, so we look forward to seeing it in the water. Watch out. Stay tuned for more information.
Here are highlights in the sport of sailing globally, in the last 7 days. Jeremy Bayou announced that his sponsor and designer will build a new CHARAL2, IMOCA yacht, for the next Vendée Globe. We presume it will have all the best bits of the other IMOCAs, including things like enclosed cockpits, etc. Alinghi won the first TF35 Grand Prix regatta. The cancellation of the final day handed the inaugural TF35 Trophy victory to Ernesto Bertarelli in Alinghi, after they won 2 out of 3 races on Saturday. Day 4 of the pre-Olympics 470 event in Vilamoura, Portugal. On the podium was France, New Zealand and Australia. British round-the-world sailor, Caffari, entered the RORC double-handed race at the weekend. Whilst in Australia, Perry of Farr Yachts released the build plans for their offshore Farr X 2 racing yacht, for double-handed sailors in races like the Rolex Fastnet, Sydney to Hobart, etc. It has Seldon Masts and North 3DI sails. You want one? Hugo, the Sailing Frenchman, has his first major race in his 6.5 class Mini, as a prelude to the upcoming Mini Transat. Ron Young, of the St. Francis Yacht Club, talks to super sailor Paul Cayard after his win in the Star Class regatta. Last week we showed the build of the super maxi foiling trimaran, Banque Populaire 11. Today here's how the trampoline was weaved. Now over to the Saturday, TF35 action.
In Swiss, mainly on this Lac de Genève or the Léman, this is the place where they invented a lot of way of sailing. They've done a lot of things on flying machines, on multi-hull, super light multi-hulls to match with the sailing condition here. And then the TF35s, created 2 years ago now, they had to match with the weather condition. So then, when you want to fly, you need a minimum of speed, like on a plane. If you are not fast enough, you're not going to take off. And the beauty of the TF35s, there is no wind on the water, there is a bit of wind up there, and we have enough speed to fly on a mirror. And the pleasure is to be back and fight on these machines against very, very impressive crews, which I know very well since many, many years.
We have light wind, but we have 3 very good races yesterday with a good wind, light but good. The team works a lot on the boat to manage everything to make some good race. It's really important to find the good pressure, because if you have the pressure, you can fly, and if you don't have the pressure, you are not flying. And the difference is about 5 or 10 knots.
The trickiest situation yesterday was an approach to the top mark. An incident between Alinghi and Art Explorer, where Alinghi enters the zone clear ahead on port of Art Explorer, and both boats stack in the zone. And at the end was a penalty for the Art Explorer because Alinghi could not sail their proper course.
This is a flap here at the end of this foil, and it can move up and down to change the camber of the foil and changing the lifting force. That particular design, we have a range of flap angle which goes from plus 10 degrees, where it's flap down, to minus 5 degrees. This part is actually controlled by the software. To know at which altitude above the water we are, we have a sensor that's at the back of the boat actually, and that measures the distance to the water. Then through some calculation we can extract the altitude of that point. You can also adjust the complete rake of the foil to be adapted to the range of speed the boat is actually sailing in, and that's adjustable mechanically by the crew.
Alinghi's winning streak was not without challenge. Esteban Garcia's Real Team Sailing started the regatta well with a comfortable win in Race 1. Co-skippered by Jerome Clerc, they looked set to repeat their performance in Race 2, leading Alinghi until a shift on the final downwind allowed their Swiss rivals to edge ahead. Real Team Sailing finished the regatta in second place overall with a 1-2-2 scoreline. The remaining podium position belonged to Spindrift, who notched up a trio of thirds in racing to secure the final spot on the overall podium. Xavier Revel at the helm of Spindrift explains, "In light wind, the difficulty with foiling is finding the right angle to maintain good speed. We worked hard yesterday to make the boat run as well as possible, and had 3 great races." Of the rest of the fleet, Team Sailfever with Loic Peyrin at the helm was the only team not to suffer a deep result, and, in turn, finished 4th in the overall ranking on 13 points. Ilium 12 a Comptoir Immobilier, and Zayen 2 tied on 17 points take 5th and 6th respectively, followed by Zulu, who ends the regatta on 19 points in 7th. The teams will be back at the Société Nautique de Nyon over the 14 to 16 May for the second event of the season.
Welcome to the third day of the 470 European Championship here in Vilamoura, and what a day it was! The men's fleet kick off the day in light and shifty breeze, forcing all teams to be at their top game. These conditions create a really open racing course filled with opportunities, and we saw several less experienced crews rounding up the first mark in top positions. This forced some of the top teams to work very hard to move up the order. And it was the New Zealand crew of Paul Snow Hansen and Daniel Wilcox who got the best out of it.
Well, for us, we've been in New Zealand for the last almost year and a half. So last time we met up with the fleet was actually here in Vilamoura. We've been training really hard with some training partners, Simon and Andre, and between us we've done the best we can with the opportunity to do some sort of speed work and not so much racing, so we're just so pleased to be over here and racing with the fleet again. Really cool to see all these familiar faces and getting to race. It's such a tight racetrack, and it's just really enjoyable to connect and see how we're going.
In the mixed fleet, the Israeli crew of Nitai Hassan and Sahar Tamir showed how much they are in control at the moment, and even shared with us a very interesting story.
Sar was a sailor 6 years ago on a 470 in the youth fleet. Then she decided to go to the army to protect the country. I asked her to come back to sailing, and she said, okay, let's try, and it was very fun.
They finished the day with a commanding lead and increased their lead on the overall scoreboard. Tomorrow we will follow live on Vilamoura Sailing channel on YouTube, the women's fleet at 2:15 p.m. So stay tuned and we will see you tomorrow live.
D, congratulations on a dramatic win in the RORC Spring Series. What were your takeaways from the series?
Well, it was a super competitive fleet, and it just goes to show that literally every second counts. You're punished for any mistakes and you have to work really hard to get yourself back into the race again. So we were really tested over the 3 weekends, and by the skin of our teeth, we got the victory.
Literally 1 second was what?
I know. Let's not remind Stuart and Kelvin of that. They won't like that.
What are you looking forward to for this offshore race on May the 1st?
Well, it's a bit of a baptism of fire getting back and going sailing overnight. We've had the chance to blow the cobwebs off within the Solent, but we get to stretch our legs outside the Solent now. So it's all about preparation, and it'll be about boat speed rather than the manoeuvres. But we've seen how competitive the fleet is. So I'm assuming that we'll all be on top of each other for the full period of time and testing each other to the max. I'm really looking forward to getting back out there. And I just hope that that cold northeasterly wind that we've had recently disappears and we can feel a little bit warmer overnight.
29 teams racing in the Royal Ocean Racing Club's IRC two-handed race last weekend was set a separate 91 nautical mile course, with crews racing through the night for the first time this year. Starting from the squadron starting line, the fleet raced upwind to the east. After exiting the Solent, the fleet were off the breeze for a spinnaker run along the south coast of the Isle of Wight. After passing the Needles, they had a broad reach into Poole Bay, which was followed by a harden up to finish at North Head. Mike Yates J109, Yago, racing with Ivan Boimomorn, was the winner for IRC two-handed. Sunfast 3200 Mzungu, sailed by Sam White and Sam North, was second by just 12 seconds in a race lasting almost 17 hours. Richard Palmer's JDK 1010, Jangada, racing with Jeremy Waite, was third. Also in the fleet was D. Caffari in 5th and America's Cup commentator Shirley Robertson in 11th.
Meanwhile, in Australia, Farr Yachts' Brett Perry has sold 2 of their new, two-handed offshore racers, the Farr X2. It is specially designed and built to the sole purpose of double-handed racing, like the Rolex Sydney Hobart and Fastnet, etc.
So over the last couple of months, we've been really working hard refining the final yacht designs. We call them like a micro design, if you like. All of the little things are in place. The hull plug is done. The tooling is pretty well underway. Now, so we should be ready to be laying the first hull up, within the next week or two. We want the boat to be absolutely perfect, and we want it to be better than anything that's available. We're going for the CE certification, which is done via DNVL in Germany, and they basically they'll sign off on the engineering for us and make sure that we're clear as a production boat for every boat. So from hull 1 that will be certified, and that obviously means we send the engineering off to them, they come back, and so far everything's all got the green light, which is great. Bearing in mind that we've designed the boat around stability index for the Sydney to Hobart. So it's a strong boat. It's a boat that's built to specific criteria in terms of weight and speed and all that. But in saying that, we're meeting the required ISO standards. Part of the Farr X2 is we've looked at how we can differentiate ourselves into the market. And one of the areas I've had a lot of experience with and actually been involved with is losing and/or having collisions with twin rudders. Twin rudders are obviously exposed. We've come up with a plan, working with Allen Brothers very closely, of a cassette system that has actually got an impact fuse in it, which will enable the rudder to flip up if we do hit something, with it being a stern hung system with a shear pin, and obviously save the day. Now you might get damage on the rudder, but it will mean that you can put the rudder back down. We have a spare pin located in the system, so you don't have to go down below looking in a rusty toolbox. You can just basically get the rudder back down and put it back in, and off you go again. Seldon Europe have supplied the rig. The first two are made and done and on their way to Batam in Indonesia. Seldon did a great job in showing also that they were really keen to be a part of the project. They built a brand new manual, they got a new design team in, they did a lot of work in working with us for what we wanted and what we needed. Obviously, it being an offshore boat, we needed to meet certain criteria, but in saying that, we needed to stay with the level of performance that we wanted. So we've come up with a rig and rig setup that we're really happy with. It's quite unique in some points, but on other points it's a very easy rig to maintain and manage. It's a two-piece rig that fits in the container, so when you're shipping, if you're shipping the boat around, it can go into the container. It's easily put together by owners. You don't need to have professional riggers to put the boat together. The sales for the boat, for the first two boats, are being supplied by North's, and they're working hard on the design, which is going to give us a parameter for one design sales in the future. It's obvious that certain clients may want to use other brands, which is fine. It's a two-reef mainsail system, offshore system, that we want to put into place with a 1.5 first reef, so slightly bigger, so it's in between a 1 and 2 reef. Being short-handed, we feel that makes life a little bit easier. The next reef, the third reef, goes up to the IRC rule of 50%, so you don't have to carry a trysail on the boat. The jib is a reefable jib, all-purpose, and the spinnaker is a standard A2 all-purpose spinnaker. So those three sails come with the boat when you buy it. And so basically what that means is when you get the boat, you put your keel on mast in and sails on, you can go sailing that day.
So this is what I have, and yeah, don't worry, no electrics.
Where passion meets performance. Tower?
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Okay, so that's pretty much it for now.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I guess. Building a one-to-one is always advantageous because you're able to sit on the boat and feel where everything goes, and having Harkin come down and put the gear everywhere and actually have ropes to pull on has given us a heads up on how it's going to feel when we're on the water. And one of my mottos the whole time has been that it's very easy to sail a double-handed boat crewed, but not easy to sail a crewed boat double-handed. So basically what you've got when you purchase one of these boats is the opportunity to sail with friends on the weekend or a twilight, for example, but then have a serious campaign short-handed offshore. IRC has been our focus and single-digit rating events, so ORC is also a focus, and of course we have the performance handicap, which we're looking at as well. Against the one design is based on the fact that we're going to have multi-boats, and we're only going to get multi-boats if we're a successful boat. It's a catch-22 situation. So we want a boat that performs in handicap and sails to its rating, but we also want a boat that eventually attracts the one design owner. The main thing is you can't attack. So you've got to know.
Lots of things to do.
We're really pushing to get the first boat here for March in 2021 in Sydney. The second boat has been sold and is going to Canada. So we're starting the global approach.
Excellent. Thanks, Brett.
Cheers.
Hey guys, welcome to my spot for the night. Before this video starts, I just wanted to touch base with you on two things. The first thing is that tomorrow I'll be starting my first race, so you can watch it live. If you watch this episode on the 1st of May, I'm starting the race, so go into the description below. I'll put the link and you can follow the race live. So I have a tracker on my boat. I cannot communicate with anyone, but with this tracker you guys have access to a chart where all the boats are, so you can follow the race live. The other thing is that I wanted to thank you all for participating into the money pot I've created on PayPal. The link is in the description. Lots of you have just hit it and helped me with this. This helps so much. You'll see some news are coming also about the sponsoring of my boat. Some of you might have seen on Instagram some kind of teasing happening there. Things are moving on that front, but I'm still not 100% of my budget, so whatever you're giving is helping me a lot, so thank you so much everyone. And that's it. I'll let you enjoy the video now, and oh, that's my spot for the night. Well, we're not going really fast, but we're moving. That's a good thing. And I also rather be here than under that cloud of there. That's probably some wet conditions. So I'm happy here. We're moving. No flapping. Not too much flapping. It's pretty nice. Woohoo! I was still first at the mark, which I'm pretty happy about because the S4 is really fast upwind and we had mostly upwind conditions, but also it's been really light air for a good part of the course, and of course this boat being heavier and the minis are so light, it's really light, we are advantage. So yeah, pretty cool. And now François is going back this way, I'm going to turn around and we're going to Port-Alinghi with David. Alright, let's go! Alright, so it's really nice, we're under Jenniker, but you might notice that over there is a little issue with my furling line of Jenniker. So when I unfurl the Jenniker, it gets caught on something there and the whole furling line went around the tack. So I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna fix this, but I need to find a solution. Let's see this. Ta-da! Hi. Peace. And here we go! Là on parle.
See the full videos at www.boatson.tv.
From the St. Francis Yacht Club in San Francisco, this is the Wednesday Yachting Luncheon, hosted by Ron Young.
Welcome to the Wednesday Yachting Luncheon, live from the virtual grill room of the St. Francis Yacht Club. We hope that you and yours are sheltering in place in a comfortable environment, and we look forward to greeting you back in our yacht club just as soon as conditions permit. Our speaker today is a beloved son of our yacht club. Everybody's proud of the accomplishments of Paul Cayard, and it's a pleasure that I say these words. Paul, welcome once again to the Wednesday Yachting Luncheon.
Thank you, Ron. It's always a pleasure to be at the Wednesday Yachtsman's Luncheon at St. Francis. You know, it's a special place, as you all know, and happy to talk to you about my latest adventure at the helm of U.S. Olympic Sailing.
Great. We're interested to hear it. This is quite an assignment. You've taken up the challenge just months before the Olympics.
The mission is really a 7-year mission to turn around the team and get us back to being competitive with the top teams in the world.
So, Paul, you just won the Western Hemisphere Star Championship. Tell us about the regatta. Just give us a couple moments on your own personal this recent victory.
Well, it was a windy weekend in Miami, which means 15, 16 knots. Miami's shallow like Berkeley Circle. Miami is Biscayne Bay, to be more accurate. We sail out of the Biscayne Bay Yacht Club. So it's choppy when it's windy there. And in a star, 15 knots of wind is a full power condition. So physically, it's pretty demanding. On Friday, we had 3 races, 7 windward legs. So about 10.5 miles of upwind sailing in a star. And I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't pretty worn out on Friday evening. Fortunately, they decided to go a little easier on us on Saturday and Sunday, having gotten the 3 races in on Friday. So we had 2 each day, which is still a good workload. I sailed with a young man named Luke Lawrence, who's an outstanding young sailor in America. And he reminded me of myself a lot when I used to crew for Tom. I mean, I'm sure I couldn't keep my mouth shut. You know, I'm sure I was trying to tell Tom how to sail a starboat. And so a couple of times I had to say, Luke, you're reminding me of myself, but you know, I don't need sailing lessons right now. We can talk about it a little later. So, but you know, it's indicative of the talent. And so 2 skippers in a boat, but we got the job done. Our worst race was the first race. We thought we were over early. The radio comms weren't very good, and our bow was 60, and they had called 64 over early, and we thought it was us. So, you know, first race of the regatta, we're not going to do anything silly. So we went back, and in that race, we got our way back to 3rd. And then from then on, we only were 1st and 2nd. We got 3 bullets and 2 seconds and didn't even sail the last race. So obviously had great speed. I was trying a new radial main by Doyle Sailmakers. It seemed good. And I sail a boat called a P-Star, which is a American-built starboat. They only made about 20 of them prior to the 2012 games. They're pre-preg epoxy boats, and they're very stiff, and they're a good hull shape. So it all came together for us. I won a Silver Star, and you know, on the way back, I was thinking to myself that Kenny Keefe is the crew I had in 1984 when I won my first Silver Star in Nassau, and I've won 10 Silver Stars with 7 different crews, and I was just thinking through it all, and Kenny Keefe, I think, is 65, and Luke Lawrence is 31. So through it all, you know, through those 35 years, I'm still steering the starboat, and I've gone through all these different crews, great crews, Steve Erickson, Phil Trenter, Austin Sperry, another club member. So, you know, the Star class, starting back with Doug Holm first in 1977, and then later with Tom, you know, that's who I am. I mean, the Star class made me. It's my family. Sailing is my life. Sailing was my career. You know, there was so much emotion when I was getting the award at the end, because I could see kind of my whole life there in that room with all the various crews that were there, and thinking back to the beginnings with Doug Holm in 1977. So it means, you know, probably means more to me to win the Western Hemisphere Championship than really to anybody else.
How much you guys weigh? What was your weight?
We were a little light, and it's usually really bad to sail light when it's that full power condition. Luke weighed I came in a little heavy, which was good. I was about 208, and Luke weighed, I think, 220. So we were probably 10 pounds shy of full weight.
See the full videos at www.boatson.tv.
On est sur le filet du bateau, donc c'est toutes les zones entre la coque centrale et les flotteurs qui sont fermés par les bras et qu'on remplit par du filet pour laisser passer le vent et surtout pour qu'on puisse marcher dessus, se déplacer d'un bout à l'autre et trimballer les voiles de l'avant du bateau à l'arrière et en fonction d'où on veut les mettre. C'est des petites tresses. La tresse, elle peut pas se tendre sur toute sa longueur régulièrement d'un seul coup. Donc on tend un petit peu tous les jours et la nuit on met des charges au milieu des filets pour qu'ils s'étirent, que la tresse se mette bien à sa place. Le lendemain on enlève les charges et on tend tout autour du filet. Au début des multicoques on mettait des filets de chalut avec du gros fil de 5 mm et des nœuds tous les 50 mm. Et petit à petit, on est arrivé sur ces filets-là. Les mailles sont assez grandes, elles font 50 mm. Le gain de poids, il a été cherché dans le poids et d'aéro d'ailleurs. Normalement, sur les filets, à chaque angle de carré, on a un nœud pour tenir les fils qui construisent le filet. Et chaque nœud, avant de le serrer, il fallait des années. Alors que là, ça se tend quand même un peu plus vite. Alors que là, vu qu'on est tricoté, ça nous permet de ne pas avoir de nœud, donc il n'y a pas le volume du nœud, donc la traînée du nœud en aéro, et il n'y a pas la masse du nœud en poids. Et ça, c'est presque 20% de poids sur les filets. 32 kg, je crois, tout le bateau. Les 6 filets. C'est des grammes et des grammes qui se gagnent à droite à gauche, mais je pense que par rapport au bateau précédent, on doit gagner 30% de poids dessus. Les précédents devaient être à 45-50 kg le jeu, et là on arrive à 30.